Welcome to the Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address the commission on both non-agenda and agenda items. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the commission. Please hand in your completed card to a city staff member. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to still voice your opinion on an item on the record without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The commission secretary will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear Planning and Zoning Commission meetings stream live on YouTube and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
Zoning Commission meeting for Wednesday, January 17th, 2024 is called to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The mic is muted. Will the secretary please note the roll?
Absolutely. Commissioner Smith is present. Commissioner Sambito is present. Commissioner Booth is present. Commissioner Hagedis is present. Commissioner Wang is present. Vice Chairman Clymer is present. Chairman Kish is present. We have a quorum.
Item number 1 is to approve the draft minutes of the previous Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Will the secretary please read the recommendation?
Approve the draft minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on December 6, 2023. Is there a motion and a second for the staff recommendation? I have a motion from Commissioner Booth, a second from Commissioner Hagedis. Please enter your vote. Motion passes.
Now is the time for citizens who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any non-agenda item. Are there any speaker cards? Would anyone in the audience like to speak on any non-agenda item?
I haven't received any.
This is the opportunity for commission members to disclose any ex parte communications they may have had prior to this meeting on any item scheduled for discussion on this agenda. Ex parte communication is any outside communication commissioners may have had regarding items on tonight's agenda. Do I have any?
No.
Thank you. There are 2 public hearings on the agenda tonight. As a reminder, the Planning and Zoning Commission is a recommendation board for the council. The commission will vote on each item and forward their recommendation to council. Council makes the final decision on all items. Agenda item number 2 is a rezone of the NEC of Bullard and Van Buren. And with that, I will open the public hearing. Interim Planning Manager Christian Williams will present. Good evening.
Evening.
Kish and Planning and Zoning Commission. Christian Williams, Interim Planning Manager, here before you this evening with a request from Randy Riddell to conduct a rezoning on our property within the city. That property is approximately 51 acres and it is located in central Goodyear at the northeast corner of Bullard Avenue and Van Buren Street. The property is currently zoned preliminary PAD with an underlying designation of approximately 10 acres of retail and 41 acres as business park. Property is located with this star right here in this panhandle shape.
All right. So zooming in a little closer to that little panhandle, looks like a backwards Oklahoma. It is just south of the Urban Logistics Business Center. It is just north of the Goodyear Municipal Complex and the Vacant Vantage development site. It is east of Bullard Avenue and the Cabana on Bullard, and it is just west of an ADOT property as well as a vacant Goodyear Commerce Center property in the fire station. For a little bit of zoning history on the property, the approximately 51 acres was part of the larger 243-acre property that was zoned preliminary PAD for Airport Gateway at Goodyear. That was zoned back in 2007 with an underlying zoning again of this site with preliminary retail and preliminary business park. The remnant acreage of that has since been rezoned. You'll see some of that on the right. About 25 acres of that was zoned for the City of Hope Medical Facility, labeled as hospital on the map. Approximately 25.3 acres was rezoned in 2023 for commercial office and multifamily uses within that Celebration Plaza PAD. Approximately 48.83 acres was rezoned with that urban logistics rezoning back in 2023. And 71 acres of this site you're going to see at a future zoning case here, which is the next item. Again, today, the request is to rezone that piece on the southwestern portion of that to I-1 light industrial with the PAD overlay. So the applicant is requesting that PAD overlay as the I-1 does not have standards for the enhanced business-like commerce center that we're trying to propose here, as well as an allowance for convenience mini storage on that portion of the site that is east of 143rd Avenue alignment. That request is really intended to facilitate the development of this small little Oklahoma piece up in the corner. It's pretty narrow. Staff believes, is in agreement with the applicant that is a fairly good site for a mini storage, convenience storage type use. Again, the PAD overlay also has enhanced design requirements and some dock door provisions. For example, cross dock is not permitted within this site. That's very similar to a case you saw previously with the MC85 and Saraville rezoning, where there's provisions about cross dock doors, truck door screening when that is applicable. Those doors need to be screened from Bullard Avenue as well as Van Buren Street. Additionally, there's some enhanced designs that would need to go into the center, so you're not going to get the black, gray type buildings, but more neutral colors and an accent color to add some vibrancy to it. And in addition to that, this property will be putting in the Bullard enhanced landscaping from Van Buren on the south up to Celebrate Life on the way to the north, which would complete that Bullard enhanced landscaping all the way down from Yuma, all the way up to Celebrate Life Way. To date, the city has not received any formal resident opposition, and staff has evaluated the impacts of this proposed zoning on the greater community. With no major concerns being found, staff has recommended that you forward an approval recommendation to rezone this property from preliminary PAD zoning district to the I-1 light industrial zoning district with the PAD overlay, largely to facilitate the allowance of convenience mini storage on the east with enhanced design standards for storage, as well as enhanced design standards for the industrial buildings. Applicants is here. They don't have a formal presentation if not needed, and I'm happy to answer any planning and zoning related questions you might have.
Are there any questions for staff? Commissioner Sambito.
Christian, I'm kind of curious. Reading both of the items, it kind of sounds like we want to be a little more flexible. Obviously, they're looking to bring jobs in, but is it industrial type jobs, or are we looking to have the buildings more of a variety of uses, be more flexible?
The buildings and the uses permitted on this site are any of the uses that are allowed within the I-1 light industrial category. The one caveat is that they could not construct a cross-dock building, which inherently would limit some of the types of users that you might see in another type of center, such as some of the ones on PV 303.
So not the bigger stuff, but
Smaller, light.
It would cause the site to likely develop with smaller scale buildings because you don't have that cross-dock component. So you're not going to likely see a building that's 700,000 square feet because of that cross-dock limitation.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just to piggyback on Maria there, then obviously there's not going to be large truck traffic like we would see at some of those other places. I mean, there'll be trucks, but we won't be seeing trucks back and forth on Celebration of Life Road and so forth.
This zoning inherently does not limit that. However, again, the
Yeah.
scale of those
So,
buildings
right,
would likely
because of the size and because of what would be put there, sounds like it would be not as noxious as some of the others that have come up. Okay,
Correct.
thanks.
Thank you, Christian. The buildings to the south I thought were very well thought out architecturally. Will this complement the architectural designs to the south along Bullard, or will it be very different? How much forethought had been put into that?
There will be a little bit of a different feel. As you'll recall, the development to the south of here they'll be wrapping their bullet improvements around, but that's largely a nature of them having some data center and power mechanical equipment along Van Buren. This zoning would require that the truck courts be screened if they're present along Van Buren.
Okay. Mostly thinking about the architectural nuances, like the walls, the stone wall, the grass, those type of things. Just wanting to keep that a beautiful corridor, even if it is industrial. It'd be nice to make sure it remains still pretty to drive down. Any other questions or thoughts? Would anybody like to address the applicant? And I do believe we have a speaker card, so that person would like to come up and speak on this item. Do we have a speaker card on this one?
I haven't received any yet.
Oh, okay, the third. Okay, number 3. Perfect. Being no speaker cards, would anybody in the audience like to speak? Seeing none, with that, I'll close the public hearing. Would the secretary please read the staff recommendation?
Recommend approval of the request to rezone approximately 51 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of North Bullard Avenue and West Van Buren Street, to the Planned Area Development PAD zoning district with an underlying zoning district of I-1 light industrial with PAD overlay as set forth in the draft of ordinance number 2023-1597. Is there a motion for this? Is there a motion for the staff recommendation or a motion to recommend denial of the staff recommendation? I have a motion from Commissioner Booth and a second from Commissioner Hegedus. The floor is open for commission discussion.
Any discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
All right. Please enter your vote. Motion passes. Recommendation of approval will be forwarded to City Council for the January 29th meeting.
All right, agenda item number 3 is a rezone on the SEC off Bullard and I-10, and I will open the public hearing.
Good evening. It's me, Interim Planning Manager Christian Williams. While we haven't gone anywhere physically, we have now metaphorically gone a quarter mile up the road for this next property. It's a request from the applicant, Wendy Riddell, to conduct a rezoning on a property. That property, again, we've gone a quarter mile north. It is at the southeast corner of Bullard and I-10. It's approximately 71.48 acres. Currently zoned preliminary PAD, and the underlying zoning of this property is regional retail. Zooming in a little bit on this site, you can see that north of this site is Interstate 10, as well as some city-owned property and the Centerscape development, which is partially vacant. South of that is the currently vacant urban logistics property. East of that, you have the Celebration Plaza, multifamily and office development. And west of it, you have the Campbell's property, formerly Snyder's, and the Ass Kickin' property or Southwest Specialty Foods on the west. I will not belabor this map again, but again, today we're talking about this, going from regional, commercial preliminarily to I-1 with a PAD overlay, but for different purposes, which I will explain. So the applicant is requesting a zoning change that would go to I-1 light industrial with a PAD overlay. That PAD overlay would allow for some additional uses within the I-1. I'll note a few of those uses. One would be a 50,000 square foot retail user with a gas station and accessory uses that come with that. That would not include a truck stop. there is zoning language that would preclude a truck stop, but if it was a retail user larger than 50,000 square feet that wanted to also provide gasoline, that would be a permitted use. There are also some additional C2 uses allowed on this site, to name a few: hotels, restaurants, office, retail, and other complementary commercial uses that would be allowed across the entirety of the site. The image that is here is an example of how the site could lay out, but again, I'd like to point out that on the eastern side where it's showing industrial, that could end up potentially developing with other commercial uses. The PAD also has enhanced design provisions. Many of them you've seen before, very similar to the previous case that you just mentioned, about the colors, screening of dock doors when they're present from Interstate 10 and Celebrate Life Way, things of that nature. This PAD overlay also contemplates that 2 freeway pylon signs would be permitted. One of those freeway pylon signs could be for a single tenant user if it is a commercial user that is larger than 50,000 square feet. And with that, staff has evaluated the impacts of this proposed zoning on the greater community. With no major concerns being found, staff recommends you forward an approval recommendation to rezone this property from planned area development preliminarily to an underlying zoning district of I-1 light industrial with a PAD overlay, which would allow for a large retail user that is 50,000 square foot or greater that also has gas and other accessory uses, additional commercial uses, allowances for provisions for freeway pylon signs to be administered through a comprehensive sign package, not a use permit, and enhanced light industrial employment park feel standards. Applicant is here. They do not have a formal presentation if not needed, and I'm happy to answer any planning and zoning related questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for staff?
I'll ask. So this one specifically does overlay those additional commercial uses, and if I understood you, this was just an example of what the buildings might look like for industrial. Commercial would look completely different. They wouldn't put commercial uses within the industrial.
They could. So this whole site, including what you're seeing as an example of a large retail user with gas, that use could go anywhere on the site, as well as you could have hotel, other retail on the blue end. This is just an example of a conceptual of what could be developed there. But again, this site allows a lot more flexibility and says you could have commercial throughout the entirety of this.
Nice. Okay. Good.
Thank you, Commissioner Sambito. Any other questions? Okay. Would the applicant like to address the commission? Only if necessary. Are there any questions for the applicant? All right. This has a speaker card, I believe.
Didn't I? Oh, okay. If he wants to speak, that's fine. I can get a speaker card after.
She did say that. I think it's just put your order.
Thank you.
And just really
Apologize for not having a speaker card. I
That's okay.
had asked if I needed to fill one out when I requested to speak, and I was told I didn't need to, but I'll be happy to do that when I get finished.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for hearing this short presentation. My name is Tom Schoaf. I'm here representing Jeff and Linda Jacobs, who own the property that is immediately to the west across Bullard. We're not here to oppose the rezoning. We're happy to see the property move forward in a development process. It's good for, I think that it's good for everybody. But we are here to request that a stipulation be added to the rezoning case to clear up a problem that has been created because of the history of the work that's been done along Bullard. Immediately to the north of the Jacobs property is where the Campbell's facility is located. Apparently Campbell's needed to get people in and out of their facility, potentially trucks in and out, and so they were able to get a traffic signal sited basically on their property. which is not the typical siting for a major intersection. Their property is actually just half of the section line is just the south section line of their property, and the north section line of the Jacobs property is the normal alignment for Roosevelt. So if you look at the street sign on those traffic lights, you'll see it says Roosevelt. The traffic lights are actually shifted just north of the normal alignment for Roosevelt, which causes a very serious problems for the Jacobs property. If you look on this drawing, the Jacobs have been working through various processes to try to sell the property or develop the property into uses that are permitted under their zoning. The front part of the property is zoned commercial, the back part is zoned industrial. And they have run into a consistent problem where, because of Roosevelt intersection being shifted to the north by literally 20 feet, they have no access onto Roosevelt. So then there's no access from the north side of that property, which then really messes up the entire layout of that property. That alignment will end up messing up the traffic flow that goes in both to their property, to the Campbell's property, and to the property that you're rezoning across the street, because the entire intersection and all of the roads in there cannot be properly developed unless the Jacobs property is allowed access onto Roosevelt, which means Roosevelt needs to be sited along its normal alignment, which is the section line. So what we have requested is that you add a stipulation to the zoning matter that would require the site plan for so that the site plan that results from this rezoning action across the street cites the Roosevelt intersection traffic lights, so that the intersection is on the center line of the section line. So the center line of that intersection is on the section line between the various properties. In that way, the property that
And it's been 3 minutes.
if I could just have a minute to finish. This is a sketch I think has been provided to you that shows, if you look at the blue aspect on this sketch, that is the portion of Roosevelt alignment that would be on the Jacobs property if you put the alignment on the section line. The green is the portion of the alignment that would be on the Campbell's property. And if you see the dark area above it in here, this is actually the alignment of their private driveway. So everything shifts just slightly to the south. And by doing that, it will resolve, once we clean up all the site plans, it will resolve a very significant traffic issue, which will be created if we can't get this intersection shifted to its normal alignment. This alignment would be very similar to what the city has approved at Estrella Parkway and Roosevelt. And if you've gone through that area of the city, you see that the north and south traffic flows very nicely. You've got plenty of lanes going north and south. The Roosevelt alignment works very well, and it enables the property both on the east side and the west side of that intersection, both north and south, to use that Roosevelt intersection, which then gets people in and out of commercial developments which have gone in there. The same type of access is necessary at Roosevelt and Bullard for both sides of Bullard and both sides of Roosevelt. So what we're asking is that you add this stipulation to the zoning case to require the site plan site the traffic light on the center line of the traffic light to be on the section line. With that, I appreciate the time to make the presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. We might have a question. Yeah. Christian, can you come up? And then also I'm probably going to have Katie also involved in this conversation in regards to, there's a lot of questions here about the traffic.
Thank you, Chair. You should probably continue the public hearing, take
Yes.
all comment, close the public hearing, and then start discussion and questions.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So to continue moving forward, maybe write down any questions you guys have. Are there any other speaker cards?
It's the only one.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience like to speak on this topic? Okay. With that, I will close the public hearing. Secretary, please read the staff recommendation.
Recommend approval of the request to rezone approximately 71.48 acres generally located at the southeast corner of North Fullard Avenue and Interstate 10 Papago Freeway to the Planned Area Development PAD zoning district with an underlying zoning district of I-1 light industrial with PAD overlay as set forth in the draft of ordinance number 2023-1595. Is there a motion for the staff recommendation or the motion to recommend denial of the staff recommendation? I have a motion from Commissioner Sambito, a second from Commissioner Booth. It is open for discussion.
All right. Thank you. To discuss the topic, Christian, Katie, I'll let my commissioners go with some questions and then we'll go from here.
Go for it. We'll figure it out. Oh. There we go.
Well, I'll ask a question. Has this been proposed to you? Have you seen this and talked about it? And if you have, what did you discuss?
I'll let Deputy Director discuss.
Yeah.
Interim Director, apologize.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioner Clymer. Yes, we did get a heads up from the speaker on this before, and relocating this existing traffic signal is a private matter between the three impacted private property owners. Roosevelt is not a continuous public street in this area. It's a private drive. And although there was a potential site plan shown in the presentation, there is no site plan being approved with this zoning action, nor is the traffic signal location being set or determined through the zoning action that's before you tonight. The site plan review would be the appropriate time to look at the traffic signal location. Also, I do want to note, because of the proximity to the freeway, ADOT has to approve traffic signal locations, and we do not know if ADOT would approve the relocation of the traffic signal, nor if the other private property owner would approve and agree to the relocation of the traffic signal, which would need to happen. So staff wouldn't recommend adding this stipulation. However, I want to note, this rezone action tonight does not prevent the traffic signal from being relocated. The private property owners can continue to work together, and if they come to agreement and get the required approvals, it's something the city would look at and entertain.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. So we're essentially putting the cart before the horse by discussing a stipulation at the moment. I had a question about the center line, is because it does seem odd that it is slightly off, but is there a particular reason why that is, or?
It was a private property owner decision at the time to provide access to those properties.
Okay. So, all right.
So when you're doing traffic studies for this and you're planning the entrances and the exits of this potential large retailer use with gas, is that something that the city engineer would take a look at, possibly relocating that so it's fluid in both directions?
To provide access to the existing properties that were where that signal was placed, the signal is in the appropriate location. So if the signal was requested to be moved at a later date, that would be a private property owner matter to see if the private property owners wanted to get together to work with the city to adjust that. But at present time, The development that is proposed and was proposed when the signal went in is the same signal configuration that would work for this property as well as the other property owner that provided property for that signal to be placed there.
But not for the speaker's property at this time.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is it possibly just a matter of having access easement rights between the two of them? Is that something they have to work out between them?
That is correct. They would.
And the exhibit that he had shown, did it not also show their frontage going all the way down to Celebrate Life Way?
That is correct. That property that is just south of the Campbell's property is the same property that goes down to Celebrate Life.
So they would already have access at that intersection signalized.
That parcel currently has legal access to Bullard Avenue and to a signal that's there.
So
it's
they
really
already
site
have a
planning
signalized access at Celebrate Life Way, in addition to being able to have right turn access out of their site as well. And if they're able to come up with some type of access agreement with the other owner, they would have additional intersection access. So they already have frontage access and signalized access
So it's just an alignment of
for that particular
for
intersection.
that. Okay. Thank you. Great statement. Any other questions, concerns for discussion? Okay.
All right. Please. Oh,
Possible to make this comment? Understanding I'm overstepping my bounds above the speaker.
At this moment, let's move forward with a vote. And then, of course, please, because we're just advising council in the future of what to do. We have no actual authority of what they will do. But please bring more comments to the city council. All right. Thank you.
please enter your vote. Motion passes.
All right. Business.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The
Oh.
recommendation of
I
approval
apologize.
will be forwarded to the city council for the January 29th meeting.
At this time, we will elect a new chair and vice chair for the commission. Secretary would lead us through the voting.
All right. So it goes for nominations. So how it works is Commissioner Kish, as much as we love having him with us, is going to be terming out in next month and will be replaced when an adequate commissioner has been selected. But for right now, we do need to accept nominations for a new chair. So are there any nominations for a new chairperson?
I have a nomination. I nominate Vice Chairman Clymer.
And so I have a motion. Let's see. Let me go next. It's a little bit different. So I have a motion from Commissioner Kish to elect chairperson. Oop, and I just got a second from Commissioner Booth. All right. So any discussion?
I think he'll do an amazing job.
All right. So please enter your votes. All right, motion passes. Commissioner Vice Chairman Clymer will now be Chair Clymer as of the next meeting. All right. And then the next one is to elect a
Double my pay. So
the next
to zero.
The next is to elect a vice chair. So I will take nominations at this time for a vice chair, which it can't be Kish.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Sambito.
There's been a motion from Commissioner Clymer for Commissioner Sambito. Oops. Sorry. Yes. All right. And it won't let me do it on here. So, okay. Thank you. I have a motion and a second for Commissioner Sambito to be the vice chair. And please, any discussion? Okay. Enter your vote. And motion passes. Thank you. So now next meeting, it will be Chair Clymer and Vice Chair Sambito. All
All right. Most exciting moment of the evening. It's Staff communications.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, the one obvious thing is, I'm sure questioning is our appointing a new commissioner, and we do not have one yet. And so our rules say that Jason has to keep attending meetings and participating until we replace you. And we are not ready, and I apologize. We don't, we knew that we weren't officially replacing him before the February meeting, so we don't have a formal presentation and thank you prepared for tonight, if you're all wondering, but we do have it planned. So I believe the council subcommittee was meeting this week or next week to go over the applications we have for the vacant commission seats. So we will let you know how that goes and how interviews progress and if they find a candidate, and keep you up to date on that. On your projects at the December meeting, there were 4 cases you heard. There were the 3 use permits at Sedea that were all part of the one commercial development at Sedea, and those were all approved by City Council. There was also the rezoning case to industrial, that triangle piece on MC 85, and that was also approved as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I did want to give you a heads up that the next few meetings, we're going to have some zoning ordinance text amendments coming through. We're going to be looking at our regulations on some of the uses that are special use permits and use permits, including places of worship, drive-throughs, some uses like that. So we'll be bringing those to you for discussion and action in the future, besides our normal development cases that we have in the queue. And that is my communications. Thank you.
Thank you. The next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and the state's birthday at 6 p.m. at Goodyear City Hall Council Chambers. There being no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.